Hi, this is added on videos for QB Assignment 5. As you can see, QuickBooks has added more selections in their interface, but basic operation will be the same. So in this videos, I'm going to go through part of Assignment 5 in this new interface. So first we purchased computers and we're going to do depreciation. Alright? So we may receive a bill from the computer vendors. We just pay the cash, for example. So anyway, I'm going to do a quick way. I just send a check to the vendor. Okay. Alright, for example, we paid on August. Okay, August the 1st. And choose a payee. You can choose anyone. Just for example, I'm going to pay. No. Alright, so here we're going to choose a category, which is the account we're going to record the payment, right? I'm going to debit an asset, right? Credit cash. So I'm going to choose the computer account which I added earlier. So we had that practice in the first assignment, how to add a new account. Actually, you can type computers in the come out. Right, computers, and we have some sub-account for computers, and for this payment I'm going to record into the original cost of computers. Alright, so for example that's 1200. Yep, to save time, I'm going to leave other information blank. Let's save and close. Right, so we have purchased computers, and I can go to the chart of accounts and take a look at my computer account, right? Original cost. The computer has been recorded. Right, next I'm going to depreciate computer. For example, we're going to depreciate computer for a whole year. So that's $120 per month. So by the end of August, I'm going to make the first depreciation journal entry. Depreciation journal entry is adjusting entries, so it's not a payment, it's not a receipt. So I'm going to add a new journal entry, which is right here, new journal entry. Right, we're going to debit and credit accounts, whatever we like. So I'm going to pick the date, that's August 31st. Right, and we're gonna debit and a credit account. Right, for debit we're gonna debit depreciation expense. Right here, depreciation other expense, and that's a debit $120. And for the credit, we're gonna credit the accumulated depreciation, which I have already added for computers. But the computer account actually search accumulated depreciation under the computer account. Right, there's a sub account I added earlier, and yeah, that's it. Right, that's a journal entry we need. And next I'm going to make it recurring journal entry, because every month, by the end of every month, I need this journal entry. Okay, so click make it recurring. So the journal entry will be happen every month, right? And Actually, I need the journal entry by the last day of every month. Okay, every 1 month, and the started date. Things are already added August, so just from the September. Right, gonna end the by the next July, July 31st. Actually, I can add right here, August 1st. So the last journal entry will make on July 31st, 2023. Right? Save template. Actually, I can create 5 days in advance. Make sure that we see it. Okay, save template. Okay, a recurring template name. Okay, need name. This is a computer depreciation. Make sure that, for example, this computer number 3. Okay, depreciation. Right, that is done. Right, to see the existing recurring journal transactions, you can go to this gear bar and check the recurring transactions. Okay, here's all the recurring transactions we have arranged. Right, and this is a computer number 3 depreciation. It has been scheduled. It's been scheduled. Right. The problem is, for example, the next journal entry is September, October 31st. Actually, I have to make some changes to make sure that the next journal entry will be September 31st. Okay, so you can edit. Okay, so actually the start date, I can make September 1st to be the first day. Save template to see 27th. And I think I found the problems, which is here when I choose it's not last day, it's last Monday. Okay, I don't need last Monday. I'm gonna choose a day by date, and they're gonna make the last day of every month. I think that should work. Right now it's working. So the next journal entry will be September 30th. Okay. Next is we obtain a loan from the bank. Okay, to obtain a loan, we're going to have loan payables, right? And we're going to treat the bank as a vendor because we owe money to vendor, we owe money to bank. They are very similar, right? So I'm going to deposit money deposit. Right. These are the additional payable, additional receivables we have, but we're going to ignore this information. Okay. For example, we receive money into checking account, and we're going to receive from a bank which is not available, but we can add it as a vendor. Right. For example, that's ABC Bank. Alright, gonna fill other information that is needed. An account we're gonna record as loan payables. Right? For example, that's $10,000 loan into a checking account. save and close. Right, so we're going to check the loan payables. Right, going to see this new journal entry has been recorded. Or we can go to the vendor place, right, into the expense vendor, check the vendor. Right, so we have this vendor right here. And since we have recorded as loan payables, it's not the amount will not show as account payables. So it will be shown as loan payables. But you can add a loan as account payables. It will be the same thing. So next, by the end of each month, we're gonna make installment principal payment and interest payment, and make it a recurring journal entry. I'm not going to repeat that. That will be exact the same procedures as shown in other videos. And another thing is bad debt. Bad debt. How to handle bad debt? There are two ways to handle bad debt. One is a direct method. Right, direct method, we debit bad debt expense and credit account receivables. That's a direct write-off. Another way is allowance method, in which we first debit bad debt expense and credit the allowance for that account. Right? Then we write off. We debit the allowance and the credit account receivables. There's two steps for the allowance accounts. Yeah, we can do both in the QuickBooks. Of course, we can do everything through this journal entry function, right? You can debit and credit any account you like, right? You can do it for sure. That's going to work for the bad debt expense transactions. We can do that. Or another way, if we have a lot of frequent bad debt expense, frequent write-off, we can set up these as item in QuickBooks. Right, to set up an item, we're gonna create a list. You can set up the bad debt as a kind of service. Here I'm going to add a new service. Right, I'm going to, for example, the bad debt. Okay, this is for bad debt recognition, right? So I'm going to link this bad debt service to my income statement item if I'm using the direct write-off method. Right? So this, whenever I have the bad debt, I'm going to have the bad debt expense. Bad debt expense. Okay? Sure, the bad debt expense is not available right now. Okay? So I'm going to add bad debt expense and come back to link this item. So how to add the bad debt expense? Go to the accounting, chart of account, and add a new account. Choose expense, right? So you can search for bad debt right here. And here I'm going to add a bad debt expense account. So this is listed as expense. Now I can go back to the item list. Add a service like that. I'm going to link this bad debt to my bad debt expense account. So whenever I have this bad debt service, okay, I'm going to recognize a bad debt expense. Now, when I record this bad debt expense for customers, I'm going to go to customers account. For example, the Amy's Bird Sanctuary. Okay. And here is all the transactions we have. Assume we have to provide some bad debt expense. I'm going to reduce account receivables. So I'm going to create a new transactions, and as a credit memo, I'm going to reduce the account receivables from this customer. Right? And choose everything, but here the product service, I'm going to choose the new product service. I just added the bad debt expense. Right? The bad debt. When I provide this service to this customer, I reduce the customer's accounts receivables. For example, write off $100. Okay. Right, so we give the customers $100 a write-off. Actually, I'm not going to. It's not taxable. Okay, so just $100 credit. Okay. As you can see, the $100 being applied, so it reduced the accounts receivables from Amy's Sanctuary, $100. That's a bad debt expense. Okay. And another way is allowance method, in which we book bad debt expense and credit the allowance account in advance. Okay. And when we write off, we debit the allowance and the credit accounts receivables. So there's no expense related. So to move to the allowance method, I just need to change the item, service item. Okay, the bad debt expense. This service item is no longer linked to the expense account. It's going to link to the allowance account. Okay, added this earlier, so this bad debt service is going to be linked to the allowance account. So it looks like this shortcut does not work anymore, but it doesn't matter. We can go to the journal entry to finish this transaction. Right? Can select the journal entry. For example, I'm going to write off Amy's Bird Sanctuary $100. Write off account receivables, right? I'm going to debit accounts receivables. Right? From that account. Right, it looks like the this allowance method through the modified bad debt account item is no longer working after QuickBooks updated the system. Yeah, it worked in the previous version. Anyway, so we can just practice a direct write-off method in QuickBooks Online. That should be enough. Okay. And I have modified the assignment from the allowance method to direct write-off method.